everyone! Welcome back to Cambridge TV with Nima. For today's program, our subject is kids and stories. It basically means kids related to stories, reading books. So it depends on if they actually like something. My friend actually, his name is Bezli and Ellen. They like dinosaurs and they always like even fight on books for dinosaurs. I actually like that because when you read, it's pretty important when you read. And your parents sometimes can, before you go to bed, tell you stories. So there are lots of different books made, and you can even make a story yourself. But I actually like reading I read this one actually when at school with my friends. This is fun. And at first when you read, you will say, reading is boring. It's not boring, but at first when you read it, it's boring. But when you start reading it, it's actually beginning interesting, fun, like a movie, a film. Something like that. And so there are different books. So here I have Mysteries of the Inexplicable, The Swiss Family Robinson, The Young King, Jane Eyre, The Jungle Book. Lots of different books, even there are more. And we're in a library. And remember, when you're in a library, you always have to be quiet. ما بس او بوام برنامه بابتا كمان منالو تشيروكا وكو كتاب منالو كتاب تشيروكا أنا زور جرينجا بو دايكو باوكان كمنالا كان ينفري خوينو بكم بتايبتي خوينوي إنجليزي خوينوي كرديش باشا بس يعني ألم خوانوی انگلیزی توزه کینتره اتوانی سری کامبریج تیوی بکیبوی انگلیزی کش فری تو خوانوکش بس بابرین لسر اشتکا استا یک دنیا کتاب هیا بلام اشتکا اوه منال هندك استا من حزم لم بابتين يعني خو بزور نابي او برو مستر ام بابتا يعني اتوانم بيخوان مو بس يعني اشتكا نابي اتواني منالكو يسبون هي حزي لا استا هي حزي لديناصورة من دوها ورمينا برزي وألندا حزيان لديناصورة زور انجا جاري واشرة كان الله نو كتير ديناصورة بابا من يتر منال هيا من حزم لما أمام خاندوتو حزم لكتيبة كاني أواني كسنو وايت وأنا كجهروش يعني The Match Girl أوانا هموي وأوانا أخوانو بدلي خوتا شبابتك بس يصير كم جار كإخواني تو الله صور بورينج يعني زوريس أجا تبكا بس كيتر برا إخواني توا خوشة به شام برسالة كم هي مومن دالا كان كقولي بجنو ديك بو كان يشهر همان قولي بجنبو شكا جرينجا بو نابخونته وبسبورة كان جاي برسالة كان بدنو Why is it important to read stories to children? بوشي جرينجا ككتاب بو منالا كان بخواني توا من علم زور جرينجا بابس بوركانيش ترما باقي بلان driving you even on.
Reading books out loud to children stimulates the mind and it gives them understanding of the world. It develops listening and understanding skills. It also helps the child to imagine in their own world what they can create for themselves. So even after when the child, has been reading out loud or a parent reads to a child out loud, make sure that it continues as they get older and older. Never stop because this one also, ماشي active دكا ماشي دكا توا أو من دالا جاني خوي دجي فكري خوي دكا وستوري خوي دروز دكا.
What are the most 3 important purposes for reading children's books? ئەو ئامانجە گرنگانە چییە لە خوێندنەوەی کتێب بۆ منداڵ؟
Well, it improves concentration. It's a great brain exercise. It develops language skills. It also develops empathy. You know, you go into this imaginary world. فكرك دروا قصي خوت دروز دكي بدلي خوت مشكت active دبي دكريتوا فكرة زياتر دروا لو زوجتي
What is important about storytelling? For example, if you tell a story to someone like parents and kids, actually that will make a bit sense. So a mom and a dad and a kid. So you would say, once upon a time, there was a small kid and she went in the forest. This is red. And she went down the woods. And then, like, just a story. I don't really know how to tell stories, but I know how to read it. And it's fun, actually. It will make a bit sense. I have some puppets. Puppets, I think it's called puppets, yeah. Puppets which, like, for example, it's snow puma, a king, trees, persons, tigers, polar bears, and things like that. It's like you say, hello, I'm Mr. Polar Bear. So today I'm going to be telling you, and I have somewhere, چی گرینگە دەربارەی چیرۆکخوێندنەوە بۆ منداڵان. با من جوابیان بمەوە. من ئەڵێم زۆر گرینگە ئەتوانی دایک و باوک خۆیان چیرۆکێک بۆ مناڵەکان بخوێنەوە ئێستا کورە کلااوسول و دەنکە هەنار ئەوانان هەن حەزی لەوە نییە من هینم هەن نازانم پێویترە چیرۆس شتێکە دەستی پێواکەیت و زەلامە پەنگوینە ورچە سپیەکانە ورچە ئەسپە دارە زەلامە شتی زۆر خۆشە.
For starters, storytelling is actually very effective between people and ideas. Stories convey history, it conveys, value and culture that people, come together and reunite.
What do stories teach us? You learn how to be strong. You learn how to never give up sometimes. You learn about animals. You learn about, there are some books which is Habitats, Wimpy Kid. يسوقوا كتابة فرتكات قد كولنيت يعني ڕۆی بە دوای خەونەکانتە باوەڕە بە خۆت هەبێ کتێب فێری زۆر شتەکە.
Stories teach us to respect and appreciate, and also it gives us it puts us in an imaginary world where we can do whatever we like to do, write whatever, say whatever we want. And it's a way to be creative. Kids love creative stories. Color has, ideas and imaginations. If you think about it, a child would love to just look at pictures. By reading the story out loud to them, it gives them an understanding, and they are imagining a whole new world. And that's what we want our children to do, is, imagine their own world, their own activities, their own ways of thinking.
Many parents ask, how do I get my child to love reading? Do not ever force your child to just read. Go ahead and read. It will make them more stressed. It will make them more not to read. You can just ask them a simple thing and they will love reading. I have one of my friends here. Janine, come. Let's welcome Janine. Hi. What subject do you like? What animals? What thing? Just tell me a subject.
I love elephants so much.
Here you go. You can just simply ask them, what subject you like. For example, if they say a pet, or something. I like elephants, I like horses, I like unicorns. Get them a unicorn book. Get them like he said I like Kings, but I did not ever read King's book. This is a King's book, and he just simply started to read it. If a person likes the subject, they will definitely read it. Like when I started reading, I said, I just like blue things. And then there was a book called The Blue Smurfs. Smurfs? I don't know.
This was so funny.
Okay, the Smurfs. See, he liked it.
The best way to get your child to love reading is make sure that you're in a quiet environment, reading them books out loud. Make sure they have books all around your house, so they get to go when they're bored, find a book, open it, and you reading to them also. They want to be able to read with you, so it teaches them to learn to read. But most importantly, also watch, there are channels on TV that people are reading books, storytelling. It's amazing. Once a child just watches these, storytelling, it just gives them the feeling of wanting to read books. But definitely make sure that you have books all around your house, and you make sure that you take your time to read out loud to them. خوشترین شتا لو داکو باب فرصتی بدات او من دالی بله کتابی بخینن کتابیان لپیشیان دانن لدورا پشتی مالیان بی حاول دب خود کتابیان لو بخینی بدنگ تیان بگینی او دبره بره اوان فیر دبن بخویان بتسن کتابیان بوی بخینن.
What is storytelling strategy?
Well, always the best strategy I've learned in my life is, collect your child, go in a quiet environment, and tell the story by heart. Don't just read off a book. When I was younger, I remember my grandmother, she would collect me and my cousins in a group, and she would tell us all these stories, and all these stories had a really powerful meaning. They were examples of life, of what to do, what not to do. It was just so interesting.
How does storytelling influence our lives? So I'm not answering all of the questions. We have I would say scientists again to answer it. But how does storytelling influence our lives?
Oh, it definitely influences our lives. It teaches us that there's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. It teaches us our life is a journey. It keeps going. We create our own world, our own stories, tell everything.
What are the different ways to tell a story? We have people answering that, but I would just say a little bit the thing that I think of. So the different way to tell a story, I would say to do not mix the words, do not make mistake from the words, because sometimes when you make the mistake, the child thinks of the mistake and thinks that is the thing.
You can tell a story for many different ways. For this generation technology, through images, through videos, and through life. Just seeing life is story, and you get that as an example. So, like when you're walking down the street with your child and you see something and you ask your child, listen to this, watch this, learn from this.
How do you start storytelling?
Storytelling can be used as a method to teach value, ethics, cultural norms, and differences.
When should you start reading bedtime stories? که به دست ببقی که چیروکی شان بخنیتا.
The best time for me personally to read bedtime stories is probably at the age of 3. That's when your child, recognizes pictures and starts to speak the language. So this is when the child is listening the most. That's when you get a book and read out loud to them. This is when they're very interested and they want to learn and they're very active. Their mind is sponge at that age is the best time, the age of 3.
When you start storytelling, you should like have something interesting to say. كاتك أتبي تشيروك بخنتو أبشتكي سرنج راكش بليد بري سرنجي من على راكش تو حزي لك تبخنو به.
First, you have to engage your audience through embracing your characters by using the tone of your voice, actions, movements, and don't forget staying on pace.
How long should a bedtime story be? كاتي تشيروكي كاتي خوتن نبت چند دقيقة؟
Well, for me, it's 15 to 20 minutes. Best time for bedtime stories. You can also read to your child before bedtime, but I like to read to my children hour before bedtime because this gives me enough time to, after the storytelling, they like to talk about the story. They'll probably give me some ideas and explaining. And also, I have to get them dressed, brush their teeth, and put them to bed. So 1 hour before going to bed is the perfect time, but you can normally just do like in movies, read their story and straight to bed.
We have came to the end of this program. I hope you all enjoyed with Nima, and you have to learn from these, because if you did not learn, you have to keep on watching it again, because you shall learn reading. If you're watching this, whoever are you, if you're watching this, read. It's important for you to read. Enjoy this and read. See you next week. Bye.